Bronc and www.1077thebronc.com. This is Overthrown Pass. I'm Mike Sorsky with John LiPuma. We've got 7.5 minutes until we take you over to whatever show is after this. It's not the coach's show tonight. Now, there are two games that we have to address before we get off the air. Miami, Marquette. Now, Miami, I thought against Illinois, Puma, they kind of played scared. You could tell the tournament was in their heads, but Shane Larkin, as you said, hits daggers. He came up huge in this game, and I think this was a nice wake-up call that Miami needed.
Yeah, he's got a serious clutch gene. I think we've all seen that at this point. They're going to really depend on him. They're going to have to rely on team defense to deal with Marquette, because Marquette has a lot of athletic wing players. Junior Cadogan, Vander Blue, and they got a big guy in Devontae Gardner, and not to mention Otule down there, who made a nice little swing move in transition earlier in the tournament. They're going to have to play a team-style defense to shut down these guys because they have all sorts of weapons. It's going to be hard for Miami. I have them moving on because they've got some serious momentum pulling out that victory. Marquette's been playing a lot of close games. They depended on a game-winning layup against Davidson to pull that win out. So Marquette really struggling with blowing teams out, and they lack the shooter. That's the bottom line, is that this game might be close, and Marquette's gotten it done with Vander Blue in the past, but Shane Larkin is not going to let this team lose a close game to Marquette.
I'm with you 100%, and Vander Blue was excellent against Butler. 29 points on 9 for 15 shooting from the field, made all 8 of his free throws. And when you look at these two teams, they're both relatively deep. I think Miami is a little bit deeper than Marquette. Miami had this guy, Ryan Brown, scored 21 points for them coming off the bench. And, you know, they don't have a guy who's necessarily the best rebounder on this Miami team. You have Kaji, you have Brown, you have Reggie Johnson. Gamble off the bench is a decent rebounder for them as well. But when you look at the way Miami played against Illinois, they were out-rebounded. They will have to out-rebound Marquette in this game if they're going to win.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be really hard for them to do it with one guy. You know, Indiana has Watford and Oladipo, and they can take one guy out. There's no one guy on this team that can take one guy out for Marquette. So it's going to be done with switching, calling out pick and rolls, hopefully fighting through some of those screens, double teams, and then quick retreats. That's the key, is knowing when to retreat back to your man, knowing when to switch back. So many times we see penetration, the guy gets down low, everyone scrambles for the double team, and then the ball gets kicked out to a shooter and then swung across the other side, and it's a wide open three. And that's where daggers are made right there. It's with the penetration.
So we both like Miami in this game. It's going to be a really good one. Now, Michigan State, Duke.
It's the coach's corner.
It is the coach's corner, but, I mean, you hear those two names in the same sentence going against each other.
And Izzo.
I mean, this is as good as it gets.
Absolutely.
This is as good as it gets. And if you have enjoyed this tournament, if you like college basketball, if you like sports, and you are not in front of a television for this game, please tell me what you were doing, because it must be that much more awesome than this, but I doubt it. I really doubt it.
Yeah, and, you know, these two teams, they have very similar types of makeup. They're similar but different. They both have two bigs. Duke has Kelly and Plumlee. Michigan State has Payne and Nix. They both have guards that can score. Appling, Dawson, Harris for Michigan State. And then you have Curry and Solomon for Duke. They play very different styles of play. It's going to come down to who plays their style the best. And Michigan State, their strength inside with their physicality sort of is negated by the fact that Duke doesn't really go down there that much. So, yeah, Adrian Payne is a load down there defensively, but you're not going to see Plumlee trying to score on him. You're not going to see Ryan Kelly backing anyone down. So, with that being said, I still think Michigan State's going to win because I believe Adrian Payne offensively is going to be too much to handle. I mean, he was a man-child. He has been a man-child all tournament, and they have all sorts of scorers on the perimeter.
Ryan Kelly is such an interesting player for Duke.
I'm not sold on him.
I'm not necessarily sold on him as that being that great of a player, but it's very clear at this point, Puma, he is the difference on that Duke team because we saw how bad they were. Not bad, how average they were offensively without him.
Yeah, and in their game against Creighton, they really did not play their best game. Steph Curry.
I don't think they played that great against Albany either.
Seth Curry was a little off. Ryan Kelly barely scored at all. Kelly is just a gimmick. Everyone talks about how unbeatable they are with Ryan Kelly. He's a 4 that can hit threes. He's 6'9" and can hit threes.
But isn't that what everyone wants?
There's so many people in the NCAA that can hit threes. It's defendable. You get an athletic wing player, he can be guarded. I mean, Brandon Dawson or Gary Harris can go out there and stick him, and Payne can stay underneath the basket. They don't need him to go out there. Anyone can guard him. You just have to get a hand in his face. He's not mobile. He's not strong. I don't understand what the big deal is. Get a hand in his face, and he's not going to kill you. Creighton figured it out, and they lost the game. And Tom Izzo is not going to get beat by Ryan Kelly. I'm telling you that. If Seth Curry's hitting shots, fine. If they're running the ball and they're beating the press, they're beating the pressure from Michigan State, fine. Then maybe they'll lose that game. But I think there's too much offense on the wings between Dawson and Harris. Duke doesn't have the defenders. And there's too much strength down low offensively. Michigan State can just score in too many ways for Duke to handle.
I agree. That's why, like you, I have Michigan State moving on. Very quick. You have Louisville beating Oregon?
Yes, absolutely. And that's a game that's going to be overlooked. It's going to be closer than you think because Oregon can play fast. They have a lot of guys that can handle the ball. And I know Louisville loves to force turnovers. So this game is going to be close, and Louisville's going to get it done. I have them as my champion. But don't count Oregon out.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon has been counted out by everybody from the start of this tournament, winning the Pac-12, getting a 12 seed. They felt the disrespect, but they've made it this far, so expect a fight from them. Very quick before we call it a night here on Overthrown Pass. Arizona, Ohio State. This is a very interesting game, top to bottom. I'd have to say that Ohio State has the edge because of Aaron Craft. What he did the other day, hitting that through with 0.5 seconds left, was sick.
Shot of the tournament. He
Absolutely.
Stared the defender down and said, I'm going to shoot a 3. And then he did, and he made it, and he won the game. That is to take some moxie right there. They are riding a serious high right now. It's going to break down to Kraft versus Lyons from Arizona, the Xavier transfer, and Solomon Hill versus Deshaun Thomas. And the two of them are going to go at it all night long, and it's going to be a slugfest.
I think Thomas has an edge there. That's why I'd have to say Ohio State's going to win this game.
Ohio State is just riding a high right now. They're playing you can tell they're playing with a chip on their shoulder. They create turnovers. They were doing it all night against Iowa State. And they started to get a little over-aggressive and fouled a little too much, and they missed some free throws as well. They're not going to make those same mistakes again. Thad Matta has been here before. They're going to get this done. But I think all of these games are going to be close. The only ones that I don't think are going to be close, I don't think Florida Gulf Coast is going to be close. I think that you're going to see that game get away from them very quickly. Florida's going to take over. And I think that's the only one. I think the rest of them will be tight.
Well, all we can hope for is good games. I mean, everybody has their brackets, but in the end, you have to just want the games to be good. And if you're expecting something more than that, honestly, if you fill out a bracket and you expect that you're going to have a perfect bracket or win your bracket, you're not doing it for the right reasons. So everybody, enjoy the NCAA tournament. We'll be back here next week on 107.7 The Bronx and www.1077thebronx.com.
Mike, I have a question.
Okay.
Are we talking a little baseball next week? It's the opening week. What are we thinking about that?
Goodness, we are going to have to talk baseball
there's NBA,
next week.
There's still going to be some NCAA, but I've gotten some requests for some baseball.
We will talk baseball next week. We are going to have to talk baseball next week. The Yankees open up with the Bo Sox. Derek Jeter starting the year on the DL along with Teixeira and Granderson. A-Rod's out. And the Phillies, nobody knows.
Anything could happen with them.
Enjoy your week, everybody.
107.7